fire out on a fire at the West Fertilizer plant. They just advised that something exploded there.
Well, welcome to En Route Podcast. This is our first episode. We're super excited to have y'all with us. And real quick, some of our sponsors for this podcast are Salty Ladder Company. He's a firefighter-owned and operated apparel company. He's constantly coming out with new merch, and if you're in need of anything custom, he can actually customize your logo for anything, whether it's shirts, hats. I'm wearing a hat right now. He's got a hat, and Heath has got a shirt. So he's actually done our logo also. So reach out to him if you'll have anything. He's on Facebook and Instagram, I believe. Yeah,
TikTok too.
Yep, this Salty Ladder Apparel Company. So,
all right, our next sponsor is Frontline Optics. One item that we as first responders always have with us is a pair of sunglasses. So why not carry a pair that are specially designed for us? Go to Frontline. What?
I'm sorry. Sorry, continue.
I saw him smiling, and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna look this way."
Here we go. Go to frontlineoptics.com and check out their awesome selection of sunglasses. And a portion of the proceeds are donated to the First Responders Children's Foundation. You support those who have lost a parent in the line of duty. And when you wear those sunglasses, when those sunglasses wear out and you need a new pair, go online and ask about the replacement program. Just for $12, you get a new pair of sunglasses, no questions asked.
Awesome. We get ours in. Are they
later this week?
Later this week.
Yep.
So
just imagine
pretty
some
excited.
sweet sunglasses on our faces right now.
Yeah, that's right. Man, I'm actually really excited about
They're
that.
here in spirit.
Also, when you go check out, use the discount code ENROUTE for 15% off.
Oh, heck yeah. That's pretty awesome. So, okay.
All right.
Well, super excited for this first episode.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of a disclaimer, we're in my garage right now. That's pretty much all we have and are able to work with. So if you hear cars starting or kids screaming inside, you're just gonna have to get over that. So
yeah. Honestly, this is pretty bittersweet for us. It's taken a while to get all this together.
Yeah.
Just like Rustin was saying, we are full of disclaimers. We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're in Rustin's garage right now.
Yeah.
And, so we are not eloquently speaking people. We are firemen from the Texas Panhandle. Yeah. So if you're not from the Texas Panhandle, maybe ask for a translation, someone you might know that's from the Texas area.
Give you
So, so y'all want to jump right into it?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so who we are and the purpose of our podcast. What is our goals for this?
Well, I think the original idea was for us to reach out to guys who are newer in their careers. You go online, you can look up any fireman podcast, and there's the guys on there have, decades and decades of experience. But while those podcasts are awesome and they're full of information and knowledge, but there's not really many podcasts out there that are aiming towards guys who are newer in their careers, under 5 years or so, like we are.
Yeah.
So we thought we would start that, and also document ourselves as we move along in our careers and get new people and share knowledge that we learn along the way.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I nerd out just like everyone else, and I think it's just awesome to kind of bring these conversations that we've had in the truck, on the tailboard, late at night. We're firemen. These conversations just go into these deep, deep rabbit holes. And, I think it was kind of cool for us to just be like, why don't we just kind of extend our reach a little bit with these guys and reach people our age, kind of people that are going through the same situations as us. We're all young. We have young families.
Yeah.
Even to the point to where we were talking about having this podcast at midnight, after all the kids are asleep. But that was the biggest thing for me is I just love the conversations that we can have. And, we have them at our department all the time.
Yeah.
Any downtime, anytime, honestly, when we're supposed to be doing something, we always kind of find ourselves just chasing these rabbit holes in the you know, whether it's just talking about letting off steam or, you know, even just diving deeper and trying to just learn and understand things more from each other. And I think it's really awesome that we have this opportunity. So
Yeah, you know, kind of the goal that I had for this was to really document where we're at, kind of like Nate said. And, you know, I've only been doing this for 2 years, and so I'm still new to this being a fireman and learning. And I've learned so much already. And you know, I don't want to be one of those 2-year guys that think I'm, you know, Mr. Know-It-All, because I'm not.
Yeah.
And so coming into the game a little late, you know, I'm 34, and so coming into the game a little later in my life, you know, I've had life experience, but I haven't had, you know, life experience as a fireman. And so getting to learn from y'all is just a huge bonus. But, you know, just to have these conversations here, and, you know, we may say some stuff that isn't super accepted, or that people may not want to hear, but as long as it's raw and real, I think that that's a big goal that I have for this podcast.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure. So Rustin, you know, you kind of talked about getting into this later. Do you mind kind of telling us about where it all started?
Yeah, so, I mean, honestly, it started, I guess, back in 2012 would be when I figured out that I wanted to do this. And I went through EMT school and actually did pretty well in EMT school. Might have passed my registry on the first try, but, you know. Sorry, Nate. But
Hey, I did too.
oh, okay.
After 3 classes,
Oh,
but I
okay,
did
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Okay.
But I got through EMT school just fine, but I didn't know some things, and I actually found out some misinformation. And one of those pieces of information being that in the city that I live in was only hiring advanced EMTs or paramedic. And I was like, well, that sucks. So I went to paramedic school and flunked out of EMT intermediate. And then I just got extremely pissed off.
Yeah.
Didn't research my own things that I could have gone to the fire academy as an EMT basic. I was a young kid, and I just wasn't prepared to take that. And so I went and built cabinets for 7 years.
Did you have a family at this time, or?
No, not at that time. I didn't have anybody holding me down or anything like that. Was just mad at the world, and
Kind of just it. So at the time, it kind of just felt out of reach.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, I fell out of reach, and I felt like, well, I can't pass this class. How am I supposed to do this?
Right.
And so without, like I said, doing my own research, I just quit, which is just kind of an immature thing to do and a kid thing to do. And that's, something that I regret, doing. But I really feel like having these other jobs and cabinet work is not the easiest type of life. And so I went from there and then met my wife, went to work for Bluebell Ice Cream, driving a truck.
Nice.
And I got to eat a lot of ice cream. And,
Yes.
And that was a great job, but I didn't feel like I was where I should be. And the cool thing is my wife could see that, and she was like, "Why don't you go back and do fire?" And I was like, "Babe, we just had a baby. Like, we had my son in 2020, and that's when I was going to do this."
Right.
And then COVID happened, and I was like, but I still. She was like, "You should quit your job, and you should go back and do this." And so, I owe a lot of it to her, and so I quit my job and went to school full time. Got EMT out of the way, and then went to the academy, and then worked on the ambulance here in Amarillo for about 9 months, and then got hired on. So I think everything happens for a reason.
100%.
Yeah, I got in the game late, but I feel like those life experiences that I got to have kind of prepared me for this kind of work.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Lauren.
yeah, shout out to Lauren.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, guys. One thing that makes a successful fireman is home life being so supportive.
Yeah.
Because we go through a bunch being on shift and running the calls and stuff like that.
Yep.
And we can rely on each other when those days are hard. But man, when you come home and your spouse or whatever is so encouraging and so supportive of what we do, man, it just makes that so much easier and so much more. I don't know, like it sits better when you go home and you can. What's the word? I don't know, just like settle and have like switch minds from being at work to being at home instead of.
Oh yeah.
Because I know that I've gone through several times when it's been hard for me to shut work off when I go home, and Amber's done an amazing job of, giving me that space to come down from that, and then to switch back to being at home.
Yeah.
So
where did you kind of start at with all this?
So I graduated high school and I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And I didn't. College wasn't for me. I was not.
Amen.
Yeah. School itself wasn't something I really enjoyed, which, finding out later that as farmers, we're constantly in some kind of school.
Yeah,
but, it's different
true.
because, we actually enjoy what we're learning.
Right.
But anyway, so graduated high school, had no idea what I wanted to do. So I was like, I'm just going to get a job and I'm going to work until figure it out. Yeah. So I was at a family function and my uncle, who was a captain at the time, he thank you. He said, you should look into being a fireman. And so I just was like, sure, I'll look into it. Options are open. So I talked to him a lot about it, and I went and had coffee with him, dinner, whatever. I talked to him a lot about it. And the more I talked to him about it, the more I found out that I have a lot of family friends that are firemen, and I had no idea. I just didn't know. And so I talked to a bunch of them, and everybody I talked to was like, dude, it's the best job in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And so I was like, man, I want that. And also the family aspect, having a family at work, that was a big thing for me, because before the fire service, the military was on my mind, because I've always heard, you have brothers, in the military, and same thing in the fire service. So went into that and I checked it out, and so I was like, yeah, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be a fireman. So I went to EMT school here at the local college, and I flunked out of that real quick. It felt like I was in the wrong class. Like, I went up to the instructor after the first day, and I was like, hey, I think I'm in the wrong class. This seems way more advanced than what I'm looking for. And he goes, no, man, this is the ground level.
You were in the right place.
I'm like, it's so fast.
Yeah,
it's such a fast pace.
I was like, oh my. So I tried to stick with it, and I ended up, the job I had at the time, I ended up quitting that job and just trying to study 8 hours a day, and it was just too much for me. So I had to get out of that one, and then I tried an online class. That definitely didn't work for me, because I can't like self-teach myself.
Yeah, I understand that.
Especially something as EMT class. Trying to self-teach that was impossible for me. So after that one, again, my uncle, who was the captain, who kind of led me to go down this route, he was telling me there's a class that is...
Were you married at this time, or have
any
kids yet?
No, I didn't have any kids yet. Amber and I got married in 2017, and that was right before I got into the fire academy.
Okay.
So Amber and I were married for a little over a year. Little over a year before I got into the fire academy. And again, like I was saying a minute ago about your spouses, Amber was so encouraging of, like, don't quit. Do not quit. I can tell this is what you need to do. Do not quit. So, having that support at home is just, encouraging and wanting me to push harder. So anyway, fast forward, I ended up taking one class in a smaller town, and I ended up passing it. And then I go take my national and pass it the first time. Dang. After 3 classes.
It feels so good when you pass that thing.
Oh, dude.
The first time you're like, oh, I knew it.
Yeah, dude, and I was bouncing job to job to job during all these classes, because nobody would work the schedule. I was like, hey, I need these days off because I have to study. Yeah. And they're like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, all right, deuces.
That's one thing that I thank Lauren for, is letting me quit. And we had a new baby, so we were one income family. Yeah. And I made decent money there, and so I mean, thank God for
that.
because I really wouldn't have done it if she hadn't given me the go ahead. So.
Yeah, but so I passed that, and then I went through fire academy, and that one was a lot easier than going through EMT. But then moving into, so after I graduated Fire Academy, I got hired in my first department in the fall of 2019. So, and then
Nice.
here we are at our current department.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean,
What about you, Heath?
man,
Let it rip.
it's
dude.
kind of crazy how we kind of all have almost the same bones to our stories. So, I mean, I always sucked in school, right? I mean, ever since I could remember, I was always behind. I was always kind of the guy that just didn't quite get it, and I had to work a little bit harder than everyone else. So, getting into my high school, getting close to the end of high school, I was kind of lost on what I was going to do, and I knew that I probably wouldn't cut it in college, just knowing that I sucked, honestly.
Yep.
And so I was like, what is something that is sustainable that I can retire from? Because I know I wanted to retire, and I don't have to go to school for it. So I started looking at the railroad. So I had some family that worked in the railroad, and, long story short, they were like, hey, man, like, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and the more I hear about it, I'm really glad I didn't.
Yeah.
So,
I have family
man.
too that's in it, and they said the same thing because I was thinking the same thing. But
Yeah.
it was a short-lived.
yeah. So thankfully, that's not the case. Right out of high school, this all kind of happened around like my junior year of high school, as it's kind of coming up, and I was like, damn, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my life.
Yeah.
And, I got engaged. Like, I think I was still a senior in high school when I got engaged.
Dang. Dude.
My wife is an older woman, so she had already graduated and did all that. So, I was just like, I was working in the food industry, and I was just like, I know for sure I want out of this.
Yeah.
There's no way. I'm working with guys in the food industry that's like, they're 40-something years old, and I'm just like, I do not want to be that person. So, now I'm engaged. I bought an engagement ring I couldn't afford, obviously. I'm 18 years old.
Yep.
Then I just started kind of looking into trade school, and then I remember going to a firehouse in elementary school, and I remember I got picked to wear all the gear, right?
Yeah.
And I remember just being, that is freaking dope.
Yeah.
Like, that was it, right, for a long time.
Elated.
Yeah,
That's
and then
cool.
kind of like Rustin, the older I got, I was just like, that's just out of my reach. There's no way.
Yeah.
With the way I struggle, with just everyday school, there's no way that I could do that. And I did think that, it was like a bachelor's degree or something that did seem out of my reach at the time.
Yeah.
So, I'm engaged. I'm 18 years old. And I start looking into trade schools at the community college, and I see firefighting on there, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's a trade, and I kind of just dug deeper into it, and I had some family members that were like, I mean, you can do this, right? Because the whole time you're in school, in public school, it's you're learning things that don't pertain to you. You don't learn the things that you need. And, you can do this if you kind of just put your mind to it. And so I was like, all right. And I kind of went a different route than most people. So a lot of people take their EMT before the fire academy. I did the fire academy first.
Yeah.
And I had to go through, because my GPA was in the garbage. I had to take, remedial math, all this stuff. And
Dude, hey, shout out to remedial math, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that saved my life.
Yeah. And, and then I did start taking the EMT class, immediately flunked out. I mean, it was just so fast-paced, and it's in college, so they're like, you're an adult now.
Yeah.
Like,
Here's the
figure
book.
this out.
Yeah.
And
Either
they
pass
hand
or
you
get
this
out.
$800 book that's about, the size of a Yellow Pages, and
Yep.
they're like, we're going to be covering 4 chapters a week, and you're coming in twice a week. So, I mean, the pace is unreal. And I don't remember how long that class actually is. I think it's like 6 weeks or something.
It's either that or it's like right at a semester, something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, unreal. So, I flunked out of that. I dropped the class, and then I got into the fire academy, and just kind of the more I was doing that, I was just like, man, I think I made the right choice.
Yeah.
I've got to do that EMT. And
It's always the hurdles, the EMT.
I think the EMT is what kicks a lot of guys out.
Yeah.
Because, you go through the fire academy and it's hands-on, and a lot of people that do hands-on, that's how they learn. And so then you get to EMT, and it's like, read this book and know this information.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and especially, and you talk to firefighters and stuff, and 90% of them, like, don't care for EMT, and they'll tell you EMT is the hardest thing that they've ever done, right? So it was scary, honestly, because I was talking to guys that I knew, and they were like, dude, the EMT, that's going to be the hardest part. And then, so I'm going through the academy, and I get done with that, and that was like the biggest achievement I had in my life so far.
Yeah.
And, then I jump into another EMT class. I kind of took a different, I took the EMT class through my current department, actually. So, Bill Heiser. Shout out to Bill Heiser,
Shout
dude.
out to Bill.
Yeah.
That guy,
awesome.
I mean,
He teaches it a different way.
he teaches it in
Yeah.
just like hilarious war stories. And I mean,
Heck yeah.
the guy, I mean, honestly, is the reason why I passed the NR the first time.
See, that's
And,
awesome.
and another thing, getting into these classes right out of high school, I just learned so much about what I didn't know. I didn't know how to study.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to manage a budget, work while doing this, manage my time.
Yeah.
And, man, that was a big struggle. And,
It's crazy how much growing up you do in the fire service.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it was like that. And so I got all certified, and I was working at the hospital. I was doing that for a while, just working crappy hours, and I just knew, I was like, and everyone tells you in the academy, take the first job that you can.
Yeah.
Because at that time, it was really hard to get a job somewhere,
Yeah.
even if you're fully certified. And I got hired in a municipal department at a different town. I had no family living in this town. Me and my wife just got married. We were living in an apartment. I was still learning how to live, with another human that's not my parents.
Yeah.
And coming back to the support, I just remember she was still kind of trying to figure out what she wanted to do. She was just, wanted steady income, and we were just living life. And she was like, let's do it. Let's pick up and let's go.
That's awesome.
And so I moved down there, and I worked at a pretty busy department. I got a lot of good experience there, fire-wise.
Mm-hmm.
It was a department that you don't really see a lot. When you go into that town, you don't really see a lot of homeless people anywhere,
Yeah.
Right.
compared to where we live. And
Right, not out and
I
about.
thought that was bizarre, but it
Yeah.
is just because the sheer amount of vacant houses, and I mean, that means fires.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I got a lot of good experience. I stayed there for almost 2 years. And then my daughter was born while we were living there. And so my wife stayed at home with her. And, I was working my fire job along with 2 other jobs. If I wasn't, if it's not the season to mow grass, then I was installing outlets. Just to kind of just make ends meet. But I was loving it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was awesome. Fast forward a little bit, I started just it started taking a toll.
Yeah.
I'm not with my daughter.
Yeah.
I'm not with my wife. We have no family here. And this is also prime COVID time.
No.
So newborn baby who I think she was about 6 months old. She got COVID, RSV, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We were quarantined in the house for weeks on end. And I was just like, I'm going to give this one more chance. But, I mean, I don't feel like I'm doing right by my family.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started looking around departments, places where I'm from, and I worked with a guy that had recently worked where we work now, and he was like, man, it's such a great place, and it's right in my wheelhouse of where I'm from, where my family's at, but he was like, when I was there, it was predominantly volunteer,
Yeah.
and volunteers get first pick.
Mm-hmm.
You should know that. And I was like, all right, I'll apply for it, and just kind of see what happens.
Yeah.
And I just kind of put it in God's hands, and one thing led to another, and I got offered the job, and that was in 2020 December. I started here, and I've been here ever since, and I honestly haven't regretted any of it.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So kind of one thing I wanted to ask y'all real fast, and we can kind of make a roundabout with it, is what's your why? Why do y'all do this job? Every day, 3 a.m. calls to pick up Miss whatever her name would be, and she's fallen for the 4th time that night. Why do you do it?
So I'll say I didn't know the why,
Mm-hmm.
obviously getting into it.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
My why then was job security,
Yeah.
decent pay, I had heard.
Yeah.
And it was something that it's not an office job. It's
Mhm.
not something that, a lot of people get to say that they do.
Yeah.
But getting into it, my why changed, almost instantly. So I would say now my why is being something bigger than myself,
Yep.
being something that I'm proud to say. And I've even found myself like, I kind of hope that this guy kind of asked me what I do for a living.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just so awesome. Like when you describe to people that, yeah, I kick in people's front doors when their house is on fire and they thank me for it.
Yeah.
Like, what other kind of occupation does that? And
Yeah.
also, it's just kind of seeing the underbelly of the lives of, or really just the world in general, that people don't really get to see.
Yeah.
Some of that is bad,
Right.
obviously, but there's a lot of that is really rewarding when you get to be there and you get to be actually there and present in that moment and being there for people.
Yeah.
I think that there's something about that I would say that's why.
Yeah. Nathan.
I mean, he pretty much hit it exactly. But starting out, my why was really, I was chasing that family, that brotherhood.
Yeah.
Because that was a big deal for me. In high school, I had some real close buddies, and once we all graduated high school, everybody went their separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
So and then we try to stay in contact as best you can, but life happens, and you lose touch with those guys. So
Yeah.
I was really chasing that family aspect,
Yeah.
and once I got that, I was kind of like him. I was a little bit slower though. My why changed to essentially what he was saying is being a part of something that's bigger than just bigger than me or bigger than even this art department.
Yeah.
It's a worldwide family.
Yeah.
And it's just if you go overseas and you mention you're a firefighter to another department there, they're gonna take you in and share war stories and
Yeah.
Stuff
Just
like
that patch you've got on.
Yeah.
You have something in common with these people.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and so that's just that was I don't know, that's a really cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah. That's kind of the same thing. Being a part of something bigger than yourself is man, that's what this is. And it's the fire service that you get to be a part of something that's bigger than you as a single person.
Right.
And yeah, we get the calls that are not fun and not exciting and are hard to deal with. But then coming back and then, getting to talk about it and then, just love on each other from that is something that you don't really understand. And, you get those people that are like, I just want to help people. And that's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
But
that changes quick.
it changes fast because you're not going to like to help the lady at the 3rd or 4th call in the middle of the night. You're going to be mad. You're getting to the same place to lift assist, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Or you run a bad domestic call.
Yeah, or you run a bad domestic call, and I think that's a lot of times what, younger guys or girls getting into this don't really think about is waking up at 4 a.m. to go pick somebody up off the floor.
Yeah, they see all the glorious stuff. They don't see the other nasty things that we have to do.
Yeah, and 80% of it is picking up people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's I just like I was kind of mentioning earlier, it's like 90% of the firefighters you talk to hate the medical side. I
Yeah.
hate the medical side of it. I just want to slay dragons, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just almost how you need to look at it is your frame of mind is it, yeah, my ice cream is kind of probably going to be melted by the time we get back from
Yep.
lifting this lady up. Or
Yep.
this is the 3rd time this week. Oh, it's getting about that time. Oh, Miss, Johnson hasn't called us to come pick her up. But then there's another side of that where you go and you meet these people and you develop a relationship with them. And you do see that they don't have anyone else.
Exactly.
They don't have
I think that's a big
anyone.
part. Yeah.
they're excited for telemarketers to call them because it's someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that can very easily either be like, I cannot stand when we have to go do this. And sometimes, yes, it is bad timing.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that is like, you know, we get to be that person for these people. And I know it really sounds cliche, but, you know, I have developed relationships with these people, and eventually they do pass on. And I think that relationship, you know, may have honestly kept them here a little bit longer.
Yeah,
and,
I think you're exactly right.
You know, because, I mean, they don't have anyone else.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that these people have no knowledge about who we are or what we are, but the patch that we have on our shoulder, I mean, just means that, oh, this is someone that I can count on. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's an automatic trust.
Yeah,
They
and
automatically trust you.
That's the cool thing about doing this job is you walk in and somebody that's having a panic attack can immediately calm down.
Yeah.
And that feeling that you're there,
That's security.
that security for them.
Yeah.
But then that makes us feel, I mean, it makes me feel really good that they immediately trust me. That's pretty cool. And I mean, you don't get that really anywhere else.
Yeah.
So
I know just starting out, I recognized that, and I felt it is really cool, but it also is, it's a lot to take on to be that person.
right.
Right? Like, to be like, I got to know my stuff because these people don't know that, you know, I've basically forfeit that right to not know what my job is or how to help this person, whether their house is on fire, whether, you know, they're having an allergic reaction, whatever it is. But it's a huge, huge load to carry on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
totally agree.
So let me ask all this. What's a common trait that you would think all firemen possess?
I think that a lot of firemen are able to be personable immediately. They can flip that switch, and then they can talk to a stranger like they've known them for 40 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes they can be difficult, but I think the guys that I know can do that, and they flip it on, and then they turn it off when they leave.
Yeah.
And so being able to be personable and make that connection in 5 seconds is huge. And so I think the guys, I mean, I work with, and the other guys that are on our department, I think they can do that very well.
Yeah.
So.
I agree. I mean, I would have to say, I mean, one is like have a pretty jacked up sense of humor.
Oh,
I mean, obviously, if you don't have that yet and you're just now getting into the fire service, like, just hold on, because it's coming.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you'll start just saying some pretty dark jokes, and you pick up on that pretty fast. But honestly, I think all of us just truly enjoy what we do.
Yeah.
Truly just value that and value what we take away from that. And I think that for the majority of us, I mean, that it's a big part of our lives. It's not just what we do. It's a big part of who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one that came to my mind was a sense of service. You know, that's what we do. It's what we swear to do for our community, is to serve and protect. And you know, if you look around at every fireman, you know, they're off duty. They're out at the grocery store, and they see someone needing help picking up, I don't know, a case of water. You know, something that's like, you know, something that an average person might just look at and just kind of keep going. But, you know, most firemen, they're going to go there and give a hand, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the trait of service is something that I think is really cool to see in a lot of firemen. But also, too, part of me wonders if is it a trait that these guys are born with, or is it something that they learn? Or can it be learned?
I think it can. I think if you combine's personable, making connections. I think that you might not have that when you first start, but that should kick in pretty quickly. You should learn how to do that fairly quickly because, like I said, you've got to make some kind of connection with somebody you don't know in a couple seconds to get that person to trust you, and then be confident in what you're doing. And confidence is a huge thing too.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you this, Rustin, kind of going off of that, and, you know, we're going down a rabbit hole with this, okay?
A
But
little bit, yep.
where do you see that disconnect happen, that we can do that with our patients, but we can't do that with people that we work with?
That's
Anyone
that's
on
a
that?
solid question. I mean, and that's what's hard is because I think that we have a switch that flips for someone that is in need of, like, they've called because they're having an emergency. Somebody that we work with, you know, they're not having an emergency, and so our mind is not switching to that emergency mode of I've got to make this person breathe or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're around this person, we're doing everything we can to help this person succeed, and it's just sometimes it doesn't work. And then, but I think the patients and someone we work with is kind of a different switch.
Yeah. And you know, saying that, I'm not at all saying that, you know, I've got that figured out, because I genuinely want to know, because there is this point of where we know everything that we're supposed to be saying to this patient. We know how to take care of them. But I have found myself that someone wearing the same patch as me, it's almost like I don't know how to help that person. It's like once that they're wearing the same title that I am, or whatever title it may be, I have a hard time being able to, you know, kind of connect with them like I would on a day-to-day patient, right?
I think too that's one of the awesome things too about being on the department is it's not just you. You have multiple people there that can, like, if you can't connect with them, well, maybe Rustin can,
right?
Or maybe Heath can, you know. So I think having multiple personalities there, maybe let's give Rustin a try. Maybe he can kind of connect with them in a different way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And everybody approaches different situations, you know, their own way. So you know, I think having those other guys to rely on is a great, like, okay, I'm not connecting to you. Let's let Rustin give it a shot and see what happens.
Yeah, so, I agree. Yeah. You know, kind of going on to the personality things, I mean, what is something that y'all have found in your career so far to just kind of help with different, like, tools you have found to help with different personalities? Because we all know, I mean, you work in a firehouse. Even at our firehouse, there's not that many people, but there is, it seems like an infinite amount of personalities that you have to deal with, right?
Well, you know, we have a lot of different personalities, and kind of one thing that I learned a long time ago is kind of go with the flow. And there's going to be that person that thinks they're right about everything. Let them think they're right about everything. It is not up to me to decide that they don't know everything. And so I'm going to take everything they say, whether with a grain of salt, or I'm going to process that, and I'm going to kind of read them as they go. Yeah. But I have the really good ability to get along with a lot of people. Yeah. And that's just
Rustin, I have never spoke to anyone that has just been like, I cannot stand Rustin Scarborough. I have yet to meet that person.
I'll be the first.
Whatever.
No. I think there is just, like, you know, and that's what I mean, like, kind of peeling back these layers on the question, right? Yeah. Like, there is just sometimes I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. Like, I wasn't expecting having to deal with personalities at a firehouse, right? Because people from the outside see and they're like, they're all the same type of people. You even said it yourself. You're like, most of us have these same traits that led us to this job, and that's why, or we're in this job and we all develop some of the same traits. But, man, there's just something that, you know, the power in, like, just being able to understand all these different personalities and figure out how to function and mold yourself in with them. I mean, it is. Sometimes it's brutal.
Sometimes it's very difficult to do. It is very difficult to do, and I know that there's good in every person, and so that's kind of what I try to do. Is I try to find that good in somebody that's maybe mad all the time or comes in a bad mood. I try to find that and I pull it out of them, and that's something that I've, like, strived to do for a long time, not just here at Randall County, and. Kind of putting our name out there, and
that's fine.
Yep, and but that's something that I strive to do, and what that does for me is it helps me go to work in a good mood, with a good attitude.
Yeah.
And that's from day one. That's kind of what I wanted to do. Is every day I'm going to come to work with a good attitude.
Yeah.
And I have my days that I'm mad? Yeah. Or I come in and I'm tired and I don't want to be there or whatever.
Yeah.
That's normal, but that should not affect my attitude.
Yeah. And that's the really cool thing is, you know, talking about how sometimes all the different personalities can be brutal, hard to work with, all of this, but there is times when it's like, it's almost like, you know, we get on scene, it's like we all know what you're doing, and what I'm doing.
Right.
And it's like, even at the firehouse, it's almost like that switch that kicks on that we know that's like, hey, I know that Rustin's having a hard time.
Yeah.
And there's always that one person, and I've found in my experience that it just kind of is like, hey, man, you know, like it's almost like they're picking up the slack that day.
Right.
Because you can't always be that person to find the good in everything because we're all human, right? We're going to have those hard days.
Yeah.
But that's what's the beautiful thing about being in the fire service is there's always just that someone can pick up on that. And I mean, for the most part, like everyone cares. I mean, you may have, you know, your reasons you don't like this person or you don't get along with them, but it all comes down to, you know, being there for each other's brothers. And I feel like pretty much everyone can do that. And it's pretty easy, you know, to find that person.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I kind of want to know, I know what my answer is on this, but y'all have been in the fire service both 5 years?
I'm like 4.5.
4.5?
A little over 5, yeah.
Okay. So what's one thing, let's say one thing that y'all have learned so far in your careers? And then we'll go to me.
Like about myself or just...
Yeah. So what you've learned either about yourself, about the job, about, you know, that you love EMT or whatever.
Go ahead, Nate.
I love EMT.
I would say the thing that's really... So it's also changed me, but also something that I've learned but I didn't learn it for myself. I had to have someone pull it out of me. So at my first department, my first captain, he was a very aggressive fireman, and it was the perfect crew for me because all those guys were super aggressive. And I was coming out of the academy. I mean, let me back up to the academy for a second. In the academy, I learned to be very timid because when you go through a little scenario in the fire academy, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, we all felt the this mentality of like, I don't want to kind of like go outside of what these instructors are trying to teach me. So like, I'm not like, if you crawl into a room and I hear a pass device going over here, but they said stay on the wall, but I can hear the guys over here, and that's my main job is to get him out. So I like freeze up. I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to go outside the parameters.
Yep.
So that timidness, I brought that into my first department. And I remember right before my 6 months, my captain and lieutenant, they pulled me in the office and they're like, dude, what's the deal? Like, what are you scared of? And I told them, I was like, honestly, Cap, I don't want to go outside of what you're trying to teach. You know, like I don't want to go outside of that because I feel like I'm going to miss something. Right. And he goes, dude, you got to shake that. He goes, this whole career is all about being adaptable like that. You know,
being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So after he told me that, I was like, okay, I'm going to just, you know, in any situation, I'm going to get my hands dirty no matter what it is.
Heck yeah. And
within, you know, after my year, I guess, and he pulled me back in the office for that, you know, that year eval, whatever. And he goes, Perez, you did a 180, man. Like, good job, like making that switch, not being timid. So, and that comes with confidence as well, and doing a ton of training. That trait or whatever you're asking of like what I've learned is that confidence and not being timid, and that's something that, you know, because we all teach at the academy here.
Yeah,
that's something I try to really emphasize to all those guys is don't be timid, man. Like, 'cause same thing that we all learned is, you know, this job is so adaptable. You know, it's always changing. You may have a plan, but you go on scene, all of a sudden that plan's out the door. Yeah. You know, you got to do something different. So the confidence and then not being timid
it's something I've learned and
cool.
gotten
Huge.
better at.
Yeah, that's really huge. Heath?
Man, I'm the same exact way on the fire academy. But you know what? We don't have enough time to touch on academies and curriculum book-based
That's episode 2.
learning.
Episode 2.
So, yes, stay tuned for that,
Yes.
for those conversations.
Yes.
So I will hold off, and I will say, I mean, I'm right there with you. I knew, because just like in the academy, like they teach you, they're like, hey, if you mess this up, you could die.
Yeah.
If you mess this up, you could kill someone else.
Yeah.
Right? And someone like me who's coming out right out of high school, never having to deal with those kind of decisions or anything like that, it is terrifying, right? So then you get a job somewhere, and then these people expect you to know, you know, what they teach you and all of this, and it is a huge, you know, deal to build that confidence. Like it's a huge hurdle.
Yeah.
But for myself, man, I feel like I've learned, I mean, so much. But the biggest thing is like just being okay with messing up. Kind of playing on that confidence thing that you talked about, Nate. But I used to just be so terrified to mess up.
Yeah.
Because I thought every time I mess up, I'm just going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Or I'm going to get myself killed.
Yeah.
Which, you know, could happen. Yes, very well. But it almost paralyzed me in a way. It was the paralysis by analysis, right? So I just felt like I'm, you know, I don't want to be that guy that's responsible for this or, you know, whatever. And the biggest thing that I feel like I've learned is just almost accepting that something is going to get messed up, something's going to get broken, something is going to deviate from policy or whatever the case may be. And it's probably going to be my fault.
Yeah.
But will the world go on? Yes.
Yeah.
And will I be, you know, more apt to not make that same decision again?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I have learned the most from being so embarrassed, whether it's on scene or in the firehouse, that I will never forget that stuff. And it's because being embarrassed is okay.
Yeah.
You know, and depending on, you know, the work environment that you're at, you know, is depending on how embarrassed you may feel, you know, but what they can do is either bury you in the ground in that and then you never recover from that, or build you up, you know. And that was something that, you know, at my previous department was I was so afraid to mess up. So I would come to these experienced guys, and that was just a whole kind of different dynamic of working there, you know, opposed to here was I worked with guys that had been doing this for 20 years, 25 years, right? So tons of knowledge and experience that I was just trying to, you know, milk that from, because I was like, I don't have that experience.
Yeah.
And I don't know the proper channels to find the answers that I want, so I'm going to come to these guys. And a lot of them they didn't say it, but they said, you know, basically they learned this from messing it up. Right? That's how they know all this stuff, right? Is messing stuff up, working these scenes that are just jacked up.
Yeah.
You know, and
doing some cowboy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, why do I have to learn this stuff? Like
The hard way.
the hard way,
The hard
right?
way,
Because I was like, I don't want to
absolutely.
learn this by getting someone hurt,
Yeah.
or by me burning a truck up.
Yep.
That's how I learned that I parked too close, or you know, stuff like that. It's like
Nate?
that is not at all direct.
That's another story for another time. All right.
So I think you hit it right on the head, and so that's kind of mine. And it's I was, you know, I came into this a little later. I was older, and so I was absolutely terrified to mess up in front of y'all. And I was just like, I'm 31, you know, I shouldn't, or 32. By the way, when you turn 30, your life's not over. Okay, you can still become a firefighter.
How was it because of the age difference, or
Yeah,
like,
so
wait,
that played a part, and so I was like, you know, I'm 32. I should know how to listen once and then get it, you know, immediately.
who is the next oldest person on our department next to Rustin? I mean, not that person, but like, what is their age?
Oh, 30.
Was it like 50 something?
No, it's not. It's 30. He went through my academy. He didn't like hugs.
Oh yeah.
Shout out. So He's the next in to me.
But
I
basically,
believe.
everything else, just so people that don't know, pretty much everyone is in their mid-20s to
yeah.
late 20s,
yeah,
right?
mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Very young department.
Rustin was
early.
a special case for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I just figured that I'm this age. I need to learn it once and then know it, and that was not the case at all. And so what I've learned in this short amount of time is it is okay not to know. It is okay not to know.
Yeah.
But don't tell people that you know.
Yeah.
And then you really don't know.
And you really
It's
don't know.
And that's where I've kind of figured that out is it is okay for me not to know something. And the cool thing about this department is, there's a lot of younger guys that can teach me this stuff, and that's okay. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned. It's okay not to know, because me not knowing, then I can ask and then be trained on it, and that's okay. I still have a very long career ahead of me, and I'm not going to know anything today or tomorrow, and that's all right. And so, and that's kind of where.
Well, I mean, we've all trained new guys, right? We've all
Yeah.
trained rookies. Like, it is so frustrating when, like, and it is partially our fault, and I'm guilty of it. And it's just like, if they don't say anything, I assume that they know,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But that is quickly changing. Like that, we have to get away from that. I know I have to get away from that because I've let myself down.
Yeah.
And I mean that the best way possible. It's like lowering your standards for their outcome, for their sake, because I don't want to sit here and expect everyone to know how to check an oil.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
They don't.
this is the guy that doesn't know how to check his oil because he didn't say anything. But
Yeah.
it's because I didn't lower my standards, for his sake.
Yeah.
But
I mean, a lot of kids now, they don't know how to change an oil, and that's okay. They can be taught how to change one. And
it's not their fault.
Right. It's
Yeah.
No, it's their parents' fault.
But
Way to go.
but we've seen that. Like, all of a sudden, they're the guy that doesn't know how to check an oil, and then it's almost like they're kind of fighting a losing battle already.
Right.
And
Well, then they're scared to say it. I don't know how to do it. Because it's something so simple.
yeah.
They're scared to be like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
But I 100% have kind of fostered that into where I wasn't the one to be like, all right, okay, if you know, then show me. Or like,
Right.
if you don't know, then ask.
Yeah.
Because I've found it training rookies, it's like, they're like, oh, okay, yeah. And then we just, go on until something else comes up where we do find out that they don't know. And then you're
Right.
like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah.
And
Why
then
didn't you say something? Yeah.
yeah, but it's just the same way. It's we have to make sure that we're fostering an environment to be able to, for someone to say, "Hey, I actually
I have no idea.
have no idea what you're saying when you
Right.
say that."
Yeah.
And then it's like, cool, we
That's
move
okay.
on from that. Yeah,
We can dive deeper into it so that you fully understand it, and then we can move on.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move into this part of it. So, with us being so young in our careers, and we're kind of we've all officially pretty much gotten out of the rookie phase, right?
Yep.
We're no longer new guys. We are considered senior guys at our department. What are aspects of the fire service that each of us thoroughly enjoy?
Yeah. So, I really enjoy the medical side. So I worked on.
And you stand alone.
Yeah, and I will stand.
He does
on,
not stand
I will
alone.
stand.
Yeah, I know.
over.
I enjoy it.
So
What?
I do.
Do you really?
I do.
So
I did not know that.
I
Wow.
mean, more
I'm
than
so
structure fires.
disappointed.
No, but yes, I do. Yeah, I do enjoy it.
Wow, I
yeah,
did not know
so-
that. I'm
Well,
shocked.
half of mine comes from because I worked on the ambulance first, and so
yeah.
I got
So sorry.
Yeah, I
Did not mean to offend you.
I loved it. You did, okay. I loved it, but I had a really good medic that taught me a lot of things about like patient care and stop being so nervous. And so, but I got those nerves out before I came to the fire service, and so those nerves, not fire nerves, and so I really enjoy the EMT. But then getting to our department, because we get to do wildland and the structure side, so we get to do both. And I've come in the academy. I hated wildland. Couldn't stand it. We had to scratch a line like a mile long, and it was awful.
Wow.
It was absolutely terrible. And I was like, I am never doing this. And then I come to a department where we do wildland, and we're actually really good at it. And so I really enjoy the wildland, but then I really enjoy extrication. And so I wish that we got to cut up more cars, but there's...
We do this month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a bunch of cars out there.
Okay, so
Yeah, there's a bunch.
I haven't been over there, so and that's what I'm excited about is learning more about that as I go and getting kind of really good at that. And so those are kind of just some of the things that I've come to enjoy. So,
What about you, Heath?
So the aspects in the fire service, are we as where we are now?
Well, yeah, like something that as your career's gone along, what is something that you've man, this is something I love. I want to dive deeper into it. I want to be able to when someone has a rookie, when you have a rookie come to your crew and you're like, okay, we need someone to teach this. Oh, hey, Heath's your guy. Send them to Heath. Heath will dive all the way into it. So what is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously nozzle work.
yeah.
Anyone that works for me for a certain amount of time, just know I nerd out on that stuff.
He's really good at it too.
I just love it. I mean, it's firefighting.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just the base of what we do, and I think that it is just severely overlooked.
Yeah.
And I mean, academies, the textbooks, all of that. Again, I could go, way down into the rabbit hole with that, but I mean, and that was the biggest thing is for a long time I didn't know what my niche was. I didn't know what I enjoy because there's so many different aspects of this job that you can go. And I think that is a beautiful thing about it is it's like, okay, you're not really good at wildland. You need to be proficient at it because that is your job.
Right.
And I will be the first to tell everyone that I am not a wildland guy. But I strive to be proficient in it just enough to get me by.
Right.
I say just enough to get me by. I mean, it's not really a great way to think about it, but
just to get you by, you're still really good at it. And I think that's the thing that we do a lot is train on everything.
right.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it's I didn't know what my niche was for a really long time, and once I kind of got more comfortable and confident in the basic everyday things, then that's when I really kind of, reached and searched for what I really enjoyed and what I was good at and kind of played on my strengths. And that was just one of them. I was like, I love fighting structure fires. And I just started diving into that. And, I mean, it's kind of history.
Well, I mean, because me and Heath just started working on the same crew at the same station. And he taught me that move with the nozzle, and it changed a lot of how I was handling it. And I was like, oh, this is way easier than what I was initially taught. And so.
Yeah. Well, my thing is something I've really gotten into was reading smoke. Also, structure firefighting. I'm not I wouldn't say I'm as proficient as you are in nozzle work. I'm pretty confident in it. But yeah, dude, reading smoke has something that's been my niche lately. And the first experience I had seeing it done on scene was it was at my first department. We were on a structure fire, and my captain was in the front yard just kind of examining. He was just taking in. He'd already done his 360. He's in the front yard now, getting a game plan. We're pulling hose off, and I'm standing next to him with the nozzle. I'm waiting to be told what to do, and he's just kind of you can see his wheels turning, and he goes, "Perez, hit it right there," and I hit it exactly where he said, and it completely changed the dynamic of the fire. The smoke completely changed. It became real laminar. It changed everything.
Yeah.
And I was
That's awesome.
Whoa. I was
We're
Cap.
oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, Cap, how did you do that? And he
Teach
said,
me.
Yeah, I was like, he's reading smoke. I'll show you sometime. And it was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
And so from then on, I've been diving in real heavily into reading smoke. And there's been a couple scenes where I've utilized it, and I mean, not to the extent of that he did, but it's definitely changed my mindset about structure fires.
Absolutely.
So it's I feel like way more confident battling something like that, because I feel like I can read that smoke and be like, okay, I know what stage we're in and where it's trying to go and stuff like that. So yeah, but dude, reading smoke is just,
it is crazy when
really
you
cool.
kind of like invest your time and your efforts into looking into this thing and trying to get better at it, and you see kind of it pay off, right? Like you're
reap
on
the
scene.
benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of get that return of investment, and
Right.
it's pretty cool. And honestly, if you're a fireman like this day and age, and you are not, outside of work seeking that knowledge, outside of your your training requirements for your state, your department, or whatever, like you will fall behind.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just like we were talking about earlier, there's so many different areas that we need to be proficient in.
Yeah.
That if you haven't found that niche and you've been doing this for who knows how long, like, and especially that information is right here for us now.
Oh, yeah.
We're just, it's a huge blessing just to
Yeah.
be a fireman in this day and age. And I mean, it's right at our fingertips. We all have $1,000 piece of equipment in our pocket right now.
Yeah. And it's so easy to YouTube these videos, TikTok these videos that are guys fighting fires, going on car wrecks. They get to wear helmet cams or whatever, and you get to see it like a POV of that happening. And there's those videos out there where probably shouldn't be doing what they're doing or learn what not to do. But there's also those videos with a massive amount of good information, and so and they show you how to do it right there. And so if you're not taking the job outside of the firehouse, you're falling behind.
I think it, and it's not just like a gross negligence thing where I should be studying up when I'm home and stuff, but I'm not going to. It's not like that, but it's just because it's so easy to to access that someone else's experience, from who knows where, and just having that at your fingertips. I mean, it is a huge deal. And I heard someone talking, on another podcast, and they were just like, imagine just like you wanted to cook spaghetti, and you've never cooked spaghetti in your whole life, but let's say this was 50 years ago. You would have to go to the library, find a cookbook, find someone who has a cookbook.
Yep.
You couldn't even take a picture and keep that in your pocket. You would have to then find a copier, right?
Yep.
Like that was the process that people had to go through, to get that experiences from somewhere else that's not in their immediate area. But that's just not the case anymore. And it's pretty awesome. I mean, there's just tons of outlets to find this stuff.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
I wanted to ask another question. What is something you would tell yourself as a rookie? You right now, what would you tell yourself as rookie you?
Mine is relax.
Calm down,
dude.
bro.
I was so nervous every day. I knew I was gonna walk in and I was either gonna get put into a scenario as a rookie, which is training, or I was going to go to my first fire, and that's another day for another story for a different day. But
no, I mean, you should
didn't
talk
go,
about.
it
I
did
mean,
not
what you
go
learned
well.
from that.
I learned to relax first of all, and I learned that I probably should work out a little harder. And because man, your first fire, I just thought it would go differently. It was after a 4th of July, long day, long night.
That fire.
It was awful.
That was a horrible fire.
It did not go well, and we can get into that later. But it didn't go well, and I ended up in the back of an ambulance. But that's okay because I learned that
there's more to it.
There's more to it. You know what I mean?
So
I was immediately humbled.
Right. Yeah. So
Which is
what
good.
kept you from just being like, screw this, I'm out?
These guys, the guys because I didn't work with you during that time, but it was the guys on my crew that helped me find the confidence that I could still do this, even being a little older and being a little out of shape. I could still do it, and I could get into shape. And so the guys that were on my crew, man, they taught me. Our chief helped me got to have a conversation with him.
Did you get the privilege of sitting in the Chiefs rig?
I did. That's where I found myself after the ambulance.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is with our chief is he's so soft spoken, he's quiet, but he goes, well, what did you learn? And we had that conversation, and I was like, I'm immediately humbled.
Not like, how dare you?
Right. No.
What's wrong with you?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, what did you learn? And we had that conversation, and he was like, okay, well, you learned something. And that was on scene of a fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so to have that confidence and that backing from your crew so early on was pretty awesome. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rare to see or to even hear about, you have a rookie and then he does rough on his first fire, which is always expected, right? And then you have a crew that's very encouraging and being, like you were saying, like backing you up, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak for other departments, but I'm sure they're out there that's not how
probably
not how
it,
things
no,
work.
It would not probably be how it would go, and I think I am.
Well, and they see that as like not meeting their standard, right?
Right, yeah.
Because
Right.
they've been doing this for 20 years, and that used to just frustrate the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Of seeing these guys that I know that I'm more physically fit than them.
Yeah.
In my standard, right?
Right.
And working out in the gym, I know I work out more than this guy, twice as hard as this guy, but that guy's still on his first bottle, and I'm out here on my third.
Yeah.
Or like I'm on my first bottle, but I can't even hold my head up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was. We've all had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to have that backing, because dude, any other department, I don't know, but the department I'm at now, I mean, just to have that backing is huge to me. So
Yeah.
and it was like, well, this is where I belong.
It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
What about you, Nate?
I mean, it's kind of touched on what I said earlier. Just don't be timid. Don't be. And kind of what you had said that you have learned was to not be afraid to mess up. Mm-hmm. And that was it. Kind of ties in the same thing about being timid. Was I was so scared to mess up, so scared to go outside these parameters that, in my mind, that these guys were trying to teach me that I was either going to get yelled at because I wasn't getting what they were trying to learn or what they're trying to teach me that I needed to learn. So just I would say, just like he said, relax, take it all in, and understand you're going to mess up. It's not a if. It's you are going to mess up.
Yeah.
But you're going to learn from it. And the guys who are teaching you're going to mess up, and they're trying to pull that out of you so they can teach off of it. So
I think that's another big thing is you're going to mess up and know that now, but you better learn from that mess up.
Yeah.
Pay attention to
that.
how the outcome is.
Yeah, because Heath said when you're embarrassed, you learn, and if you get embarrassed and you don't learn, then there's the issue.
Yeah. And
there's
that's
the
the
issue that's going on that's kind of bigger in the background. Like you need to be able to learn that now.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be embarrassed twice.
Right.
Yeah.
And
From the same thing.
from the same thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's one thing that I didn't do when I drove our tender and I didn't turn on the pump.
Oh, yeah.
I got out and hooked all the hoses up, and
Yeah.
and then the guy that was with me was like, "Turn the pump on," and I was like, "Nope."
No, I did not.
and man, embarrassment. Woo! But have I not turned it on since? Nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, just like you were saying with like your first fire and like your experience with that, I mean, anyone that tells you that like their first fire was like just a cakewalk,
They're a liar.
It's either one like not a legitimate fire,
Yeah.
or I mean they're just lying about the whole thing because every single one of us did not know what to expect. I tell you what I expected: burning pallets and hay in the corner of a room with concrete floors.
yeah, that ain't no.
That's
joke.
what I expected.
Yep.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
having to
easy
crawl
to-
around
Yeah.
objects and whatever.
Yeah,
Again,
concrete floor.
we'll talk about that the next episode as far as academies go, but we all teach at the academy, and there is kind of our hands are tied in that way. We can't have acquired structures for every academy every year,
Very true.
and show these people, because whether it be NFPA standards that we have to follow, or just general safety of people that honestly are learning how to
Right.
do this,
Yeah.
don't know how to do it.
Yep.
But that's what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what happened? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Heath, you want to go ahead and take us out?
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you again for joining us. Big shout out to all you guys that's been giving us a following. Like and share. Let us know on the Facebook boards what you guys want to see from us. We can't guarantee that we'll make it to all the questions, but we do have a vision for what we want this to be. And if your questions kind of fall in line with that, we would love to talk about them. Be looking forward to having some guests on here.
Yeah.
And, so just don't forget to like and follow. Train hard, keep pushing, and dispatch, we're back in service.
See ya.
Deuces.